Welcome to a journey through the shadows of America, a land filled not just with beauty and history, but also with restless spirits and eerie tales that refuse to fade away. The United States is home to countless places where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. Tonight, we explore 20 of the most haunted places in the country, each with its own chilling story waiting to be told. So dim the lights, turn up the volume, and prepare yourself to step into the unknown. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stands today as a towering relic of America's complex history with crime and punishment. Built in 1829, it was once hailed as the most expensive and technologically advanced prison in the world. Its imposing Gothic architecture, complete with castle-like towers and spiked walls, was designed to inspire both awe and fear. But beyond its physical grandeur, Eastern State was a symbol of a revolutionary and controversial idea in corrections reform through solitary confinement. The prison was built on the philosophy that isolating inmates from one another would encourage reflection, repentance, and ultimately rehabilitation. Each prisoner was kept in a separate cell, isolated from human contact for nearly the entirety of their sentence. This pioneering separate system was unlike anything before it, but it came at a high human cost. Inside those thick stone walls, thousands of men were subjected to silence, solitude, and despair. Prisoners lived in cramped cells with small skylights as their only connection to the outside world. No talking, no physical interaction, no reading or writing materials, only the relentless echo of their own thoughts. For many, the mental strain was unbearable. The ghost stories of Eastern State Penitentiary are tied deeply to this dark history of suffering and isolation. Though the prison officially closed in 1971, its cells and corridors remain preserved, a haunting museum of past punishments. Visitors who explore the decaying blocks speak of eerie experiences that suggest the spirits of former inmates have never truly left. Phantom footsteps echo throughout the silent halls, sometimes faint and distant, sometimes suddenly sharp and near. These footsteps seem to come from empty corridors and cells long sealed. Many who have walked the penitentiary report hearing distant cries, whispers, and moans that linger in the cold air. These disembodied sounds are often described as desperate, sorrowful, and at times, menacing. Shadowy figures have been spotted darting between the iron bars of cells or lingering just beyond the reach of light. These apparitions often appear as dark silhouettes or misty forms, visible only out of the corner of the eye before vanishing without a trace. Some visitors claim to have felt cold breaths on their necks or the sensation of unseen hands brushing against their skin, an unsettling reminder of the prison's haunted past. One of the most famous inmates of Eastern State was Al Capone, the notorious Chicago gangster. During his time at the penitentiary in the 1920s, Capone reportedly experienced strange occurrences himself. According to legend, he heard the ghostly voices of victims, felt unseen touches, and was disturbed by unexplained noises echoing through the cell blocks. Capone's accounts add a layer of notoriety to the penitentiary's haunted reputation, connecting the stories of suffering to one of America's most infamous criminals. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Eastern State Penitentiary, intrigued by its eerie atmosphere and rich history. Many have used electronic equipment to capture evidence of supernatural activity, recording unexplained voices, footsteps, and temperature fluctuations. Thermal cameras have detected cold spots, while EVP, electronic voice phenomena, sessions have picked up faint whispers and calls that cannot be attributed to any living source. The penitentiary's architecture itself seems designed to amplify the haunting. The long, narrow corridors, lined with rows of tiny cells, create an oppressive atmosphere of confinement. The thick stone walls block out natural sound, making every footstep and whisper carry unnervingly far. The decaying interiors, peeling paint, and rusting bars add to the sense of decay and abandonment, a perfect setting for spirits trapped between worlds. Visitors often describe an overwhelming feeling of unease and sorrow upon entering. Eastern State The weight of so many lives, marked by isolation and despair, seems to cling to the air itself. It's as if the penitentiary holds on to the memories of those who suffered here, refusing to release them even decades after its closure. Guided tours often share stories of the prison's brutal history alongside its paranormal tales, intertwining fact with the unexplained. These narratives highlight the human cost of the separate system and the harsh realities faced by inmates, reminding visitors that behind every ghost story lies a life once lived in, sometimes lost. Some guests have reported objects moving on their own, doors slamming shut, and lights flickering unexpectedly. These incidents, while unsettling, have become part of Eastern State's enduring mystique. The prison's haunted reputation has made it a popular site for Halloween events, paranormal investigations, and curious travelers seeking a brush with the supernatural. Eastern State Penitentiary's legacy is a complex one. It stands as both a monument to pioneering penal reform and a chilling reminder of the psychological toll of solitary confinement. Its ghost stories offer a glimpse into the human suffering hidden behind stone walls and iron bars, giving voice to those silenced in life. Today, as visitors wander the cold, shadowed corridors, they step into a place where history and hauntings converge. The prison may be abandoned and silent, but the echoes of its past persist: phantom footsteps, distant cries, and shadowy figures that continue to haunt the halls of one of America's most infamous penitentiaries. Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia, is a sprawling structure steeped in tragedy and haunted by the lingering spirits of its dark past. Originally designed in the mid-1800s to accommodate just 250 patients, it ultimately became home to more than 2,000, far beyond its capacity. This overcrowding, combined with years of neglect and mistreatment, left deep scars within its walls and forged a legacy of suffering that still resonates today. Built in 1864, the asylum was a marvel of its time, designed with impressive architecture and a vision to treat the mentally ill humanely. But the reality was far grimmer. The institution struggled with inadequate funding and an ever-growing population of patients, many of whom were committed against their will for reasons ranging from mental illness to social nonconformity. Overcrowding meant cramped, unsanitary conditions, or subjected to harsh treatments that would now be considered cruel and outdated. Countless individuals passed through the asylum's doors, many never leaving alive. Deaths from disease, malnutrition, and neglect were common. As the years dragged on, the asylum grew into a place where hope faded and despair took hold. It was a house of broken minds, broken bodies, and broken spirits. Today, the asylum sits abandoned for the most part, its massive stone walls cracked and weathered by time. Yet, despite its derelict condition, Allegheny remains alive with stories of the paranormal whispers from beyond, spectral figures, and chilling phenomena that have drawn the attention of ghost hunters and curious visitors alike. Visitors to the asylum frequently report hearing whispers drifting through the halls, soft, unintelligible voices that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Sometimes the whispers grow into agonized screams or guttural cries that echo off the cold stone walls. The sounds feel like desperate attempts at communication from spirits trapped by their memories or by the building itself. Dragging footsteps are another common occurrence. People claim to hear heavy boots shuffling down long, empty corridors late at night, footsteps that stop suddenly or turn corners when no one is there. These sounds conjure images of patients restrained and wandering, or of staff members burdened with the weight of their grim duties. The asylum's notorious history of restraint and confinement is often cited to explain why many spirits are believed to be trapped in the building. Shadowy figures have been seen lurking near the old patient wards and treatment rooms, some described as tall and imposing, others small and hunched, resembling the many vulnerable souls who once inhabited the asylum. These apparitions move silently, sometimes vanishing when approached or fading into the darkness. Cold spots are felt throughout the building, where visitors experience sudden drops in temperature, even on warm days. These icy patches often coincide with heightened paranormal activity, making the air feel heavy and charged. Some guests have reported feeling a sudden chill sweep over them, accompanied by the sensation of an invisible presence standing close by. Electronic devices used during paranormal investigations sometimes pick up bursts of static, unexplained radio interference, or voices recorded during EVP electronic voice phenomena sessions. These recordings often contain faint cries, whispers, or even names that seem to echo from the past. Such evidence fuels belief that the asylum remains a hotspot for supernatural energy. One of the most haunting aspects of Trans-Allegheny is the sense of overwhelming sorrow and loneliness that pervades its halls. It is said that many spirits here are not violent but desperately lonely, trapped in limbo between life and death. Visitors sometimes describe an intense feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are observing their every move, with a mixture of sadness and longing. The asylum's dark past, from the overcrowding to the harsh treatments and countless deaths, has forged a place where pain and trauma seem to seep into the very stones. The spirits of both the violently disturbed and the quietly suffering are believed to coexist here, creating a complex web of paranormal activity. Beyond the reports of hauntings, Trans-Allegheny's imposing architecture itself adds to the eerie ambiance. The fortress-like building, with its massive walls, narrow corridors, and barred windows, creates a claustrophobic atmosphere that unsettles even the most skeptical visitors. The peeling paint, rusted iron fixtures, and decaying patient rooms stand frozen in time, as if the past refuses to move on. Despite the dark stories, the asylum is now partially open to the public for tours and paranormal investigations. These tours delve into the institution's history, while allowing guests to experience firsthand the chilling atmosphere and reported supernatural phenomena. Some thrill-seekers visit in hopes of encountering the unknown, while others come to pay respects to those who suffered here. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum's legacy is a powerful reminder of how society once treated mental illness with fear, misunderstanding, and cruelty. But it also stands as a place where stories, memories, and spirits persist, refusing to be forgotten. For those who walk its halls today, the asylum is not just a relic of the past, but a living echo of lives touched by darkness and despair. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky, stands as a chilling testament to one of America's deadliest health crises, the tuberculosis epidemic. Built in the early 20th century, Waverly Hills was originally designed to provide hope and treatment to those afflicted with tuberculosis, a disease that claimed thousands of lives long before the advent of effective antibiotics. Yet, over the decades, it became a place of despair and death, its halls haunted by the echoes of suffering and loss. Constructed in 1910 and expanding over the years, Waverly Hills was once a state-of-the-art medical facility. Its location, on a hill outside Louisville, was chosen for the belief that fresh air and isolation could help cure tuberculosis patients. The sprawling sanatorium housed hundreds of patients who came seeking treatment, but for many, it was their final stop. Between 1910 and 1960, thousands of patients died within its walls, their bodies carried away through the infamous body chute, a secret tunnel used to discreetly remove corpses without disturbing the living. The body chute itself has become a focal point for eerie tales. This tunnel was designed to transport bodies down the hill to waiting trucks, keeping the grim task out of sight from other patients and visitors. Today, the chute remains a dark, narrow passage where many claim to feel a heavy presence and hear inexplicable sounds. Paranormal enthusiasts report strange noises, cold spots, and even ghostly figures seen lurking near the chute, as if the dead refuse to leave. Inside the sanatorium, visitors frequently report hearing the haunting laughter of children echoing through empty corridors. These spectral sounds are unexpected in a place associated primarily with adult suffering. Yet they are one of the most commonly recounted phenomena at Waverly Hills. The laughter is often described as playful yet distant, drifting through the halls before fading into silence, leaving guests with a chill running down their spines. Adding to the supernatural lore is the story of Timmy, a young boy who is said to haunt the sanatorium. carrying or rolling a leather ball as he follows them through the hallways. Some have reported feeling a gentle presence behind them, only to turn and find no one there, while others hear the soft thud of a ball bouncing along the floors. The presence of Timmy has been so palpable that many believe he is a residual spirit, perhaps a child patient who passed away at the sanatorium, but remains tied to the place. His ghostly playfulness contrasts with the overwhelming sadness that fills the rest of the building, creating a haunting blend of innocence, lost amidst tragedy. The sanatorium's halls are thick with the weight of its history. The rooms, once filled with patients hoping for a cure, now stand empty, their walls peeling and floors worn with age. Visitors often speak of an oppressive atmosphere, a sense that the pain and suffering of so many lives have seeped into the very structure. Cold spots are common, with sudden drops in temperature that catch guests off guard, sometimes accompanied by unexplained gusts of wind or flickering lights. Other paranormal experiences at Waverly Hills include shadow figures glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, doors that open and close on their own, and unexplained whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Some guests have reported feeling touched or tapped by invisible hands, or the sensation of being followed as they explore the sprawling complex. Despite the eerie tales, Waverly Hills Sanatorium attracts visitors from around the world, drawn by both its history and its reputation as one of the most haunted places in America. The site offers tours, some of which delve into the tragic medical history of the facility, while others focus on the paranormal, inviting guests to explore the dark corners where spirits are said to roam. The sanatorium's design itself contributes to the unsettling atmosphere. Its vast hallways stretch endlessly, lined with rows of patient rooms and treatment areas. The high ceilings, long corridors, and shadowed staircases create an environment where the imagination can easily conjure ghostly figures lurking just beyond sight. At night, the building's silhouette against the Kentucky sky adds to its spectral allure, casting long shadows that seem to move on their own. The stories from Waverly Hills serve as a haunting reminder of a time when tuberculosis was a devastating and often fatal disease. The sanatorium was a place of hope, fear, and ultimately heartbreak for thousands of families. The ghosts believed to linger there carry the memories of those lost, some restless, some simply trapped in time. Many paranormal investigators have sought to capture evidence of the supernatural at Waverly Hills. Electronic devices have recorded unexplained noises, voices, and temperature anomalies. Photographs sometimes reveal orbs or shadowy figures, and numerous eyewitness accounts add to the building's chilling reputation. In the end, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is more than just a haunted location. It is a place where history and the supernatural intersect, where the echoes of past suffering mingle with lingering spirits who refuse to be forgotten. For those who walk its haunted halls, the experience is both sobering and spine-tingling, a journey into the depths of human vulnerability and the mysteries that remain beyond the veil. The Queen Mary, a majestic ocean liner now permanently docked in Long Beach, California, is a vessel with a storied past and a haunting presence that continues to captivate visitors from around the world. Launched in 1934, this grand ship was once one of the most luxurious and fastest transatlantic liners, carrying passengers across the ocean in style and speed. But beneath its polished exterior and elegant halls lies a darker history filled with tragedy, wartime service, and countless stories of unexplained paranormal phenomena. During World War II, the Queen Mary was transformed from a glamorous passenger ship into a troop carrier, ferrying thousands of soldiers across dangerous waters. While it survived numerous attacks and successfully avoided enemy submarines, the ship was not without loss. Accidents, injuries, and deaths occurred during this tumultuous period, adding layers of sorrow to its legacy. After the war, the Queen Mary returned to civilian service, but the years took their toll. Eventually retired in 1967, the ship was permanently moored in Long Beach and converted into a hotel and tourist attraction. Despite its transformation into a place of leisure, Many who visit the Queen Mary claim that the ghosts of its past still roam the decks and corridors. One of the most famous ghost stories centers around the ship's swimming pool, now drained and converted into an event space. Guests and staff have reported sightings of a little girl playing by the poolside, a young spirit dressed in vintage clothing. Some have heard the soft sounds of children laughing and splashing, only to find the area empty upon investigation. This apparition is believed to be one of several children who died on board or during the ship's long history. The engine room, a labyrinth of massive machinery and echoing steel, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Visitors frequently report hearing phantom footsteps clanking on metal catwalks and the distant hum of engines long silent. Some have felt sudden drops in temperature and the sensation of an unseen presence brushing past them. The eerie sounds in this industrial space suggest that the spirits of crew members or passengers who perished here remain tethered to the vessel. Many of the ship's empty cabins are also said to harbor restless spirits. Guests have experienced mysterious knocks on doors, flickering lights, and objects moving inexplicably. Some report waking to find an unseen force pulling at the covers or sensing a presence watching them from the shadows. These cabins, once filled with laughter and conversation, now serve as quiet reminders of lives lived and lost and the Queen Mary. Beyond these well-known stories, the ship has a reputation for strange occurrences throughout its many decks. Flickering lights, sudden cold spots, and unexplained sounds have been reported by hotel guests, workers, and paranormal investigators alike. The Queen Mary feels less like a stationary hotel and more like a floating time capsule, trapped in a liminal space where past and present intermingle. Several paranormal investigations have taken place on board, capturing compelling evidence of the unexplained. Electronic voice phenomena (EVP) sessions have recorded faint whispers, cries, and even commands that cannot be attributed to any living person. Thermal imaging has revealed unexplained cold spots and shadowy shapes moving through walls and corridors. These findings add weight to the ship's haunted reputation and continue to draw ghost hunters seeking answers. The ship's haunting presence is not limited to just tragic figures. Many visitors report a general feeling of unease, as if the Queen Mary holds a collective memory of all who sailed on her. The ghosts are not just isolated spirits, but part of a larger tapestry of history, weaving together moments of joy, fear, sorrow, and hope. Despite the eerie tales, the Queen Mary remains a beloved landmark and a popular destination. Visitors come for the history, the architecture, and the thrill of encountering something beyond the ordinary. The blend of luxury and the supernatural makes it a unique experience, a place where guests can explore grand ballrooms and staterooms while feeling the subtle brush of the past against their skin. The Queen Mary's legacy is a reminder that even the grandest vessels carry shadows with them. Her decks are haunted not just by isolated spirits, but by the echoes of war, the whispers of lost loved ones, and the restless energy of a ship that has seen both triumph and tragedy. Each ghostly encounter, each mysterious sound, and each unexplained sighting adds another layer to the story of this floating icon. Whether you believe in ghosts or see them as echoes of history, the Queen Mary's supernatural tales are impossible to ignore. The ship stands as a monument to human resilience and sorrow. A vessel carrying more than just passengers, it carries memories, mysteries, and spirits that sail on forever. Bannack Ghost Town in Montana stands as a haunting snapshot of the old Western town, once bustling with gold rush fever, now preserved in eerie silence and shadowed by restless spirits. Founded in 1862, after gold was discovered in the area, Bannack quickly grew into a lively mining community. At its peak, the town was home to hundreds of miners, merchants, and families chasing dreams of fortune. But as the gold veins dried up and people moved on, Bannack slipped into decline and eventual abandonment, leaving behind a ghost town frozen in time. Today, Bannack is a state park where visitors walk along dusty streets, lined with original buildings that have weathered decades of harsh Montana winters. The wooden facades of the saloons, general stores, and homes seem almost untouched by time, yet the town is far from empty. Those who visit often report encounters with the unseen residents who refuse to leave. One of the most commonly told tales involves shadowy figures glimpsed peering from saloon windows after dark. Locals and visitors alike describe seeing silhouettes watching silently before vanishing into the night. Some say these shadows are the ghosts of miners and townsfolk who lived hard lives, enduring brutal conditions and often violent disputes in the lawless frontier town. The sound of phantom horses is another eerie hallmark of Bannack's haunted reputation. On quiet nights, some claim to hear the rhythmic pounding of hooves galloping along deserted streets and trails, horses with no riders running free across the moonlit landscape. These spectral steeds seem to echo the town's mining past, when horses were essential for transport and labor. The galloping can grow loud enough to raise goosebumps, only to fade suddenly, leaving behind a ghostly silence. Among the most poignant and enduring spirits said to haunt Bannack is Dorothy Dunn, a young girl whose tragic death still resonates through the town. Dorothy drowned in nearby Grasshopper Creek, and many believe her spirit lingers near the water and the town's wooden buildings. Visitors report hearing her soft giggles carried by the wind and sometimes glimpse a small figure darting between structures. Wearing a flowing blue dress, the color often associated with Dorothy's apparition, her presence is described as playful yet sorrowful, a child caught between worlds. Those who have seen Dorothy say she appears briefly, curious but shy, disappearing before anyone can approach. Her spirit seems to bring a fleeting glimpse of innocence and youth amidst the heavy weight of Bannack's harsh history. Bannack's history is filled with the kind of hardship and drama that fuels its haunting. The town saw its share of lawlessness, with gunfights, robberies, and even murders reported during its gold rush heyday. Mining accidents and disease also claimed lives, adding to the sorrow carried by the land. These stories have woven themselves into the fabric of the town, making it a magnet for ghost stories and paranormal activity. Visitors exploring the abandoned buildings often speak of sudden chills, unexplained footsteps, and the sensation of being watched. Doors may creak open on their own, and objects seem to move without cause. The stillness of Bannack contrasts with these mysterious occurrences, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and the echoes of lives long past. The town's preservation as a historic site allows guests to step directly into the past, wandering through dusty interiors where ghostly presences are said to linger. The saloons, once filled with raucous laughter and gunfire, now echo with unseen conversations and occasional spectral sounds. The old jailhouse holds a particularly heavy energy, as those who were once imprisoned or hanged there are believed to leave behind residual hauntings. At Bannack, the line between history and the supernatural blurs. The ghosts are not just spooky tales, but reminders of the real people who carved out lives on the frontier, often facing brutal ends. Their spirits, whether benevolent or restless, are part of the town's identity, transforming it from a simple tourist destination into a living museum of the paranormal. For those drawn to Bannack, the experience is both haunting and humbling. Walking through the deserted streets, visitors feel the weight of time and tragedy, punctuated by fleeting moments of otherworldly presence. It is a place where the past never truly dies, and the ghosts of Bannack continue to roam beneath the Montana sky. Whether you hear the distant clatter of ghostly hooves, catch a glimpse of Dorothy's blue dress fluttering in the breeze, or simply sense the eyes of unseen watchers, Bannack Ghost Town offers a chilling and unforgettable journey into the heart of America's haunted frontier. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, is a chilling landmark steeped in mystery and tragedy. In the early hours of June 10, 1912, a brutal and unsolved crime shocked the nation when 8 people, 2 adults and 6 children, were found murdered inside this quiet family home. More than a century later, the house remains a magnet for those drawn to the dark and unexplained, with countless reports of paranormal activity that suggest the past has never truly left. On that fateful night in 1912, the Moore family, Josiah and Sarand, their 4 children, were bludgeoned to death with an axe. 2 other young girls, visiting the family for a sleepover, also perished in the horrific attack. The crime scene was gruesome. The killer showed no mercy, and the weapon was still found in the house. Despite a lengthy investigation, the murderer was never caught, and the chilling mystery of who committed this atrocity remains unsolved. The house itself, located on a quiet residential street, still stands much as it did on that dark night. Visitors to the Villisca Axe Murder House often describe a palpable atmosphere of sorrow and unrest. The air feels heavy, thick with the weight of unspeakable violence, and many who step inside report an immediate sense of uneasiness. If the walls themselves remember the horror, paranormal activity at the house is well documented and draws ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and researchers from around the world. One of the most common phenomena reported is the sound of children's voices. Guests often hear faint laughter or whispers echoing through the rooms. Despite the house being empty, some have claimed to hear soft footsteps pacing upstairs, matching the presence of the 6 children who lost their lives here. Doors opening and closing on their own is another eerie hallmark of the Villisca Axe Murder House. Guests frequently experience doors swinging wide without a breeze or any physical cause. Lights flicker inexplicably, and the sensation of being watched is often reported. Many visitors describe a chilling feeling of being followed by unseen eyes, particularly in the bedrooms where the children were found. Overnight stays in the house are particularly infamous for bursts of paranormal activity, with many guests recounting sudden cold spots, unexplained noises, and fleeting shadows moving across their peripheral vision. The hour of 2 a.m., the approximate time believed to be when the murders occurred, is often cited as the peak for ghostly encounters. At this hour, some report hearing intense knocking, whispers calling names, or feeling a sudden drop in temperature that sends chills down the spine. Several people who have spent the night describe vivid experiences that border on the terrifying. Some report hearing the screams of the victims or the sound of an axe striking wood, as though reliving the crime through spectral echoes. Others have had items thrown across rooms or felt invisible hands grasping at them in the dark. The intensity of these experiences has made the Villisca Axe Murder House one of the most notorious haunted locations in the United States. The home's unsettling reputation is compounded by the fact that it has changed little since the murders. Original furniture, belongings, and personal effects remain on display, adding a tangible link to the past and perhaps strengthening the restless energy within. The preserved state of the house offers visitors a glimpse into the daily lives interrupted by tragedy, making the supernatural encounters all the more poignant. Many paranormal investigators have spent time researching the Villisca Axe Murder House, employing equipment such as EMF meters, infrared cameras, and audio recorders. Numerous recordings have captured unexplained voices, known as EVP, some calling out for help, others reciting fragments of words or names. Visual evidence occasionally includes orbs of light or shadowy figures caught on film. These findings fuel ongoing fascination and debates about the house's haunted nature. Beyond the paranormal, the Villisca Axe Murder House holds a deep cultural significance. It stands as a stark reminder of a crime that shook a community and an era. The enduring mystery of the murderer's identity, combined with the undeniable reports of supernatural phenomena, creates a powerful allure for those interested in true crime, history, and the paranormal. For many, visiting the house is a profoundly emotional experience. The weight of loss and tragedy is palpable, and encounters with the unexplained often leave guests changed, whether through fear, sorrow, or a new perspective on life and death. The house is more than just a site of horror. It is a somber monument to lives cut short and the mysteries that sometimes remain unsolved. Whether you are a skeptic or a believer, the Villisca Axe Murder House's legacy of violence and lingering spirits continues to captivate. The children's voices, the sudden cold spots, the doors that open on their own all hint at a presence that refuses to rest. The house keeps its secrets well, but those who dare enter its walls cannot deny the haunting that still echoes through its rooms. The Villisca Axe Murder House remains a powerful symbol of tragedy and the supernatural, inviting visitors to confront the dark corners of history and the unknown. It stands as a chilling reminder that some places carry the past, not just in their foundations, but in the very air we breathe, whispering stories of sorrow, loss, and restless souls who may never find peace. Bodie Ghost Town, nestled in the rugged mountains of California, stands as a haunting relic of the Wild West, a town frozen in time, where the echoes of its violent and vibrant past still linger in the creaking wooden buildings and empty streets. Once a bustling mining town, Bodie's rise and fall mirrored the boom-on-bust cycles that shaped much of America's frontier history. Today, it is a preserved ghost town, captivating visitors with its eerie atmosphere and chilling legends, including a local curse that warns against disturbing the town's fragile peace. Founded in the late 1800s after gold was discovered nearby, Bodie quickly transformed from a quiet settlement into one of the most notorious mining camps in California. At its peak, Bodie boasted a population of several thousand residents and was infamous for its lawlessness, wild saloons, and violent disputes. Miners, gamblers, outlaws, and families all lived side by side in a chaotic town that thrived on the promise of wealth and the harsh realities of frontier life. But Bodie's prosperity was short-lived. As the gold veins ran dry and mining operations slowed, residents began to leave. Fires, harsh winters, and neglect further contributed to the town's decline. By the early 20th century, Bodie was mostly abandoned, its wooden buildings left to weather the elements and slowly decay. Today, Bodie is maintained as a state historic park, carefully preserved to showcase the Old West's ghostly remnants. Visitors to Bodie are immediately struck by the town's unsettling atmosphere. The dilapidated buildings creak in the wind, their empty windows like watchful eyes, and the streets are eerily silent except for the occasional rustle of dry leaves. This silence, however, is not an absence of life, but a haunting presence felt by many who step into the ghost town. One of the most enduring legends of Bodie is the local curse that has been passed down through generations. According to the tale, anyone who takes a souvenir, be it a small rock, a nail, or a piece of wood from Bodie, will suffer a string of bad luck until the item is returned to the town. Park rangers and locals have received apology packages containing items mysteriously sent back with notes of regret from visitors hoping to break the curse. Whether a superstition or something more, the curse adds an ominous layer to Bodie's already chilling reputation. Beyond the curse, Bodie is said to be alive with ghostly activity. Shadowy figures have been spotted moving through the old buildings, fleeting glimpses of people dressed in period clothing appearing just out of clear sight. These apparitions are often accompanied by whisper-soft voices that seem to warn trespassers to respect the town's haunted grounds. Some visitors report sudden drops in temperature and the sensation of being watched, a feeling that intensifies as the sun sets and darkness envelopes the town. The old saloons, once filled with laughter, music, and gunfire, are particular hotspots for paranormal encounters. Visitors claim to hear the faint sounds of piano music drifting from an unseen source, or the distant murmur of voices arguing over cards. Footsteps echo along creaking wooden floors where no one stands, and doors sometimes slam shut without explanation. These spectral remnants are believed to be the restless spirits of miners, gamblers, and townsfolk who lived fast and died young in Bodie's lawless heyday. The Bodie jailhouse also holds a heavy presence. Once a grim place where outlaws were locked away, it now stands empty, but many sense the lingering energy of those who suffered within its walls. Some have reported ghostly figures pacing behind the bars, while others have felt sudden cold spots and inexplicable touches. The church in Bodie is another poignant sight. As a place that once offered hope and solace, the church's ghostly stories differ in tone. Some describe peaceful spirits, while others speak of sudden chills and flickering lights that suggest a presence not entirely at rest. The contrast between this sanctuary and the wild town surrounding it adds to Bodie's complex supernatural tapestry. Paranormal investigations conducted at Bodie have recorded numerous unexplained phenomena. Electronic voice phenomena, AVP sessions have captured whispers and faint cries, while thermal cameras reveal cold spots and shadowy figures. These findings continue to fuel fascination and debate among ghost hunters and historians alike, adding to Bodhi's mystique. Despite its haunted reputation, Bodhi is also a place of historical significance and preservation. Walking its empty streets offers a vivid glimpse into the lives of those who braved the harsh frontier, chasing dreams amid the dust and danger, reminding visitors that behind every ghost story lies a real history. The fragile state of Bodhi's wooden structures also serves as a warning. Visitors are urged to respect the town and its delicate buildings, not only for preservation, but to avoid disturbing the restless spirits said to inhabit the area. The stories of sudden chills, whispering voices, and shadowy figures act as reminders that Bodhi's past is never far away, that some places are better left undisturbed. For those brave enough to explore, Bodhi Ghost Town offers a haunting journey into a vanished world where the past lingers just beyond sight. The wind through broken windows, the creak of ancient floorboards, and the distant echoes of a cursed town come together to create an experience both thrilling and sobering. Whether you believe in ghosts or see Bodhi as a preserved historical site, its stories leave an impression that is hard to shake. The curse, the shadows, and the whispers all contribute to the legend of a town that refuses to be forgotten. Town where the restless spirits of miners and outlaws still roam beneath the vast California sky. The St. Augustine Lighthouse, standing tall along Florida's historic coast, is more than just a beacon for sailors. It is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. While the lighthouse itself remains well-maintained and continues to guide ships safely, the surrounding keepers' quarters and older structures tell a darker story, filled with eerie legends and ghostly encounters that have fascinated and frightened visitors for decades. Construction of the lighthouse began in the mid-1800s, and it was a monumental task that demanded the efforts of many workers and their families. During this period, a tragic accident cast a shadow over the site. 3 young girls, daughters of lighthouse workers, drowned nearby. Their untimely deaths left a lingering presence, as many visitors and staff have reported seeing the playful spirits of these children near the old stairs and keeper's quarters. Witnesses describe the girls' apparitions as small, translucent figures clad in period clothing, often spotted darting and playing near the worn staircases or along the shoreline. Their laughter, innocent and light, can sometimes be heard carried on the coastal breeze, only to abruptly stop, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Those fortunate or unfortunate enough to hear these giggles often report an intense chill that freezes them in place. A stark reminder of the girls' tragic fate. The lighthouse's iconic spiral staircase is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Even when the structure is empty, many have heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing up and down the stairs. These footsteps have no discernible source, creating an eerie effect as visitors strain to find the mysterious climber who seems to traverse the steps unseen. Some believe these sounds are the restless souls of those who lived and worked at the lighthouse, eternally bound to its winding stairwell. Visitors have also reported sudden changes in temperature throughout the site, often coinciding with the presence of these ghostly phenomena. Cold spots appear inexplicably, sometimes enveloping entire rooms or hallways. These abrupt chills are frequently accompanied by a feeling of being watched or followed, enhancing the lighthouse's reputation as one of Florida's most haunted locations. The keepers' quarters, long since abandoned and left to decay, are especially eerie. The silence within these empty rooms is broken only by the creaks of aging wood and the distant crash of waves. Visitors exploring the quarters often report strange sensations, cold drafts, unexplained noises, and a fleeting glimpse of shadowy figures moving just beyond their line of sight. The sense of a presence here is so strong that many say the building itself seems alive, as if holding memories of those who once called it home. Local legends also speak of other spirits inhabiting the lighthouse grounds. Lighthouse keepers who dedicated their lives to maintaining the beacon are said to linger, their figures sometimes seen standing watch over the coast or appearing in the windows. Some visitors have reported witnessing ghostly lanterns flickering in the night, reminiscent of the oil lamps used by keepers in bygone days. Paranormal investigators who have spent nights in the lighthouse frequently capture compelling evidence of the supernatural. Audio recordings reveal faint whispers and children's laughter, while thermal imaging cameras detect unexplained cold spots and shadowy figures. Such findings contribute to the lighthouse's enduring mystique and attract curious thrill seekers eager to experience the paranormal firsthand. The St. Augustine Lighthouse's history is inseparable from its hauntings. Its towering presence has witnessed centuries of maritime navigation, human toil, and personal tragedy. The stories of loss and dedication that surround the lighthouse add depth to its ghostly lore, making each encounter a bridge between past and present. For many who visit, the lighthouse is more than a historical monument. It is a place where the veil between worlds seems thin. The spirits of the 3 drowned girls, the watchful keepers, and the echoes of those who lived and died on these grounds all contribute to an atmosphere thick with mystery and reverence. Walking through the lighthouse grounds at dusk or nighttime, visitors often feel a mix of awe and unease. The majestic structure against the darkening sky is both beautiful and haunting, a symbol of light amidst darkness, hope amidst sorrow. The sounds of the ocean and the faint echoes of the past create an experience that lingers long after the visit ends. Whether you come seeking history, ghost stories, or simply the beauty of the Florida coast, the St. Augustine Lighthouse offers a unique journey into the unknown. The spirits that dwell here remind us that some stories refuse to fade and some souls never truly leave. The lighthouse continues to shine its guiding light, not only for ships at sea, but also as a beacon in the fog of the supernatural, welcoming all who dare to uncover its secrets. Old Cahaba, Alabama's first state capital, stands today as a haunting testament to a once thriving river town undone by floods, disease, and time. Established in 1819 at the confluence of the Alabama and Cahaba rivers, Cahaba was envisioned as a prosperous hub for politics and commerce, but a series of natural disasters and epidemics forced its residents to flee, leaving the town to slowly decay and vanish into the surrounding wilderness. Yet, the land itself seems unwilling to forget. Those who visit Old Cahaba speak of ghostly phenomena that hint at the spirits of Confederate soldiers and former townsfolk who still roam its haunted grounds. The rise and fall of Cahaba are entwined with the tumultuous history of the American South. Chosen as the state's first capital for its strategic river location, Cahaba was a bustling town in the early 1800s, complete with a courthouse, churches, and residences. The rivers that brought commerce and settlers also brought destruction. Repeated flooding devastated the town, and outbreaks of yellow fever and other diseases ravaged the population. By the mid-19th century, Cahaba's prominence had faded, and the capital moved to Tuscaloosa, leaving the town to decline into obscurity. Today, visitors enter what feels more like a ghostly time capsule than a town. The skeletal remains of brick chimneys rise like gravestones amid thick underbrush, and ancient streets have been swallowed by weeds. Despite the desolation, Cahaba's spirit is said to be alive, manifesting most vividly after dark when the veil between past and present seems too thin. One of the most persistent legends surrounding Old Cahaba involves ghostly lantern lights drifting silently through the night. Locals and visitors alike report seeing flickering orbs of light moving slowly along the remnants of streets and pathways, as if guided by unseen hands. Many believe these lights represent the restless souls of Confederate soldiers who once camped or fought in the area, along with former residents still bound to the land where they lived and died. These lanterns are not merely distant glimmers, but often appear close enough to be examined. Witnesses describe them as soft, yellowish glows that bob and weave through trees or dance across crumbling ruins. Sometimes, these lights move deliberately, as though trying to communicate or lead observers somewhere. Others fade abruptly, vanishing like a candle snuffed out by an unseen wind. The old cemetery at Cahaba is a particularly active site for paranormal experiences. The cemetery holds the graves of soldiers, townsfolk, and victims of disease, many of whom died young or in tragic circumstances. Visitors here often recount encounters with cold, invisible hands brushing against their skin, especially along overgrown paths or near weathered gravestones. These sensations come without warning, chilling and unmistakable, leaving a lingering sense of otherworldly presence. Some who have ventured into the cemetery at night describe hearing faint whispers or voices just beyond comprehension, carried softly on the breeze. Others report fleeting shadows flitting between trees or glimpses of figures in Confederate uniforms standing silently among the graves. The oppressive atmosphere in the cemetery serves as a stark reminder of the countless lives lost and the unresolved pain that seems to linger in the soil. Beyond the lantern lights and cemetery, Old Cahaba holds many other spectral tales. The ruins of former homes are said to be haunted by the echoes of daily life. The distant sound of children playing. These auditory hauntings weave an eerie soundtrack that underscores the town's abandonment and desolation. Visitors to Cahaba sometimes feel watched or followed by unseen eyes, especially as twilight deepens and the shadows grow longer. The sensation of being in the presence of invisible observers is pervasive, as if the ghosts of past residents keep silent vigil over their former home. This feeling intensifies near the riverbanks, where history and memory seem to converge with the flowing waters. The natural beauty surrounding Cahabia's rivers, forests, and open skies contrasts sharply with the heavy atmosphere of the ruins. The town's decline may have been inevitable, but the spirits believed to inhabit the area refuse to let its story fade. They remind all who enter that beneath the moss-covered bricks and tangled vines lies a history of hope, hardship, and loss. Paranormal investigators have explored Old Cahaba with modern equipment, capturing unexplained electromagnetic fluctuations, cold spots, and occasional audio recordings of faint voices. These findings reinforce the town's reputation as one of Alabama's most haunted places and attract those fascinated by the intersection of history and the supernatural. Despite the eerie stories, many who visit Old Cahaba speak of a profound respect for the site. The ghostly encounters are not merely frightening but also deeply moving, connecting visitors to the lives and struggles of people long gone. The spirits seemed less like malevolent forces and more like lingering memories, silent witnesses to a town that once was. For those drawn to places where history and hauntings entwine, Old Cahaba offers a unique and powerful experience. Walking among the ruins, feeling the cool touch of unseen hands, and watching lantern lights flicker in the darkness, visitors step into a world where the past refuses to remain buried. The town's ghosts, whether Confederate soldiers or forgotten residents, continue to roam its grounds, ensuring that Old Cahaba's legacy endures beyond stone and soil. In the quiet moments as the sun sets over the Alabama rivers, the flicker of ghostly lanterns and the whispers of the past remind us that some places are never truly abandoned. They carry with them the weight of history, the echoes of lives lived and lost, and the restless spirits that keep those memories alive. Old Cahaba stands not only as a ruin, but as a haunting symbol of the enduring bond between the living and the dead. The Ellis Hotel ruins in Atlanta, Georgia, are a chilling reminder of one of the deadliest hotel fires in American history. The site, part of the original Weinkauf Hotel, carries a haunting legacy that continues to captivate visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Though the Weinkauf Hotel was rebuilt and transformed into the Ellis Hotel, some parts of the original structure remain abandoned and inaccessible, preserving the echoes of a tragic night in 1946 when fire engulfed the building and claimed 119 lives. On the evening of December 7, 1946, the Weinkauf Hotel, a towering 15-story building and one of the tallest hotels in Atlanta, caught fire under devastating circumstances. The fire started on a low floor and rapidly spread upward, fueled by the hotel's wooden interior and lack of proper fire escapes. Many guests found themselves trapped in their rooms with no way out, especially those on the upper floors. The blaze became a horrific inferno, marked by desperate screams, frantic attempts to escape, and harrowing scenes witnessed by both residents and rescuers. The death toll was staggering, making the Weinkauf fire the deadliest hotel fire in U.S. history. Bodies were recovered from rooms where escape was impossible, and survivors recounted terrifying stories of jumping from windows or being trapped by smoke and flames. The tragedy led to sweeping changes in fire safety codes nationwide, but it also left a permanent scar on Atlanta's collective memory. Today, the Ellis Hotel stands as a modern structure built around and incorporating parts of the original Winnicott building. However, some sections of the old hotel remain abandoned, sealed off, or in ruins, and these areas have become focal points for reports of paranormal activity linked to that fateful night. Even during the day, there is a palpable heaviness in the air, a lingering presence that many find difficult to shake. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the smell of smoke, a faint but unmistakable scent that seems to arise from nowhere. Despite the absence of any fire or source of burning, this phantom smoke scent is often accompanied by the sound of panicked voices, whispers, and cries for help. Guests and staff have reported hearing these disembodied sounds echoing through hallways or behind locked doors, as if replaying fragments of the chaos from that night. The voices are described as desperate and fearful, carrying the anguish of those trapped by the flames. Perhaps the most haunting visual reports come from the upper floors of the ruins, particularly in the areas that were inaccessible and where many victims perished. Witnesses claim to see ghostly faces and figures appearing in windows, staring outward as if still searching for escape or salvation. These apparitions often manifest as pale, translucent faces, sometimes framed by the blackened window outlines, giving an eerie impression of being watched by souls unable to move on. Some visitors recount seeing fleeting shadows or shapes moving behind curtains or through the remnants of hallways, vanishing when approached. Others have experienced sudden drops in temperature, chills that sweep through a room without explanation, or the sensation of an unseen presence brushing past them. These experiences contribute to the Ellis Hotel ruins' reputation as a site steeped in sorrow and supernatural energy. Paranormal investigators who have explored the ruins have captured intriguing evidence. Audio recordings contain faint voices and cries that cannot be attributed to any living source. Infrared cameras detect unexplained orbs and shadowy forms. Thermal imaging frequently shows cold spots and temperature anomalies that suggest something unseen is present. These findings deepen the mystery and horror surrounding the site. The ruins themselves are a stark visual reminder of the disaster. Charred beams, crumbling walls, and twisted metal stand as skeletal remains of the hotel's former glory. Walking through these spaces, visitors often report a sensation of stepping back into the chaos and tragedy of December 1946. The silence here is heavy, as if the building itself mourns the lives lost within its walls. The Ellis Hotel ruins also serve as a somber memorial to the victims of the Winnicott fire. Despite the modern hotel that operates nearby, the ruins stand as a testament to the lives abruptly ended and the courage of those who tried to survive. For many, the ghostly phenomena are not merely frightening, they are echoes of pain and remembrance, keeping the memory of the tragedy alive. History buffs and those drawn to the paranormal, the site reminds us that beneath the surface of modern cities lie stories of tragedy and loss, lingering in the shadows long after the flames have been extinguished. Visitors are urged to respect the site and its history, recognizing that the ruins are not just abandoned buildings, but a place where human suffering occurred on a vast scale. The spirits said to haunt the ruins seem less interested in frightening the living and more in telling their stories of fear, hope, and the desperate desire for escape. The legacy of the Winnicott fire and the haunting of the Ellis Hotel ruins continue to resonate, reminding us of the fragility of life and the enduring power of memory. For those who walk the corridors of the ruins, the echoes of that tragic night are never far away. The smoke still lingers in the air, the voices still plead for help, and the faces in the windows watch silently through the dark. In the end, the Ellis Hotel ruins stand as a chilling reminder that some tragedies never truly end. They live on in the places they touched, in the memories of survivors and witnesses, and in the restless spirits who remain trapped between worlds waiting, watching, and haunting the ruins of a nightmare that changed a city forever. Ashmore Estates, located in the rural fields of Illinois, holds a history steeped in hardship, suffering, and whispers of the supernatural. Its story begins in 1916, when it was constructed as a poor farmer place where those unable to support themselves could live and work in exchange for food and shelter. Here, the elderly, the mentally ill, and the destitute toiled in exchange for survival. Life was harsh, and conditions were often grim. Winters were cold and unforgiving, summers were blistering, and the isolation of the countryside offered little comfort. Death was a frequent visitor, and it is said that many who passed within its walls never truly left. By the mid-20th century, the poor farm was shut down, and the building was repurposed into a psychiatric hospital. This new chapter brought a different kind of darkness. Patients suffering from severe mental illness were treated here, often under methods that would be considered cruel by today's standards. Electroshock therapy, heavy sedation, and long periods of isolation were not uncommon. The atmosphere grew oppressive, heavy with despair and unspoken suffering. Those who worked there would later describe the building as perpetually cold, no matter the season, with certain rooms feeling as though they held a presence watching from the shadows. In the decades that followed, Ashmore Estates fell into disrepair. When it was finally abandoned, it became a decaying relic on the Illinois landscape, a place of broken windows, rotting floors, and walls that seemed to breathe with the weight of the past. Yet, despite the silence, the building was far from empty. Local legends began to circulate, and those who dared to enter told chilling tales of encounters with something otherworldly. One of the most common reports from visitors is the sound of disembodied footsteps echoing through the long, dusty corridors. They come without warning, pacing slowly at first, then quickening as though someone or something is approaching. When investigators follow the sound, they find only empty halls stretching into darkness. Along with the footsteps, many have heard voices whispering their names. Sometimes it is a soft, pleading call, as though the speaker is lost and searching. Other times, it is more insistent and urgent summons from the shadows. No matter the tone, the effect is unsettling, leaving guests with the unnerving sensation that the building itself is aware of them. Objects have been known to move on their own within the estates. Flashlights have rolled across the floor without anyone touching them, and doors have swung shut with a force that defies explanation. Investigators have placed small toys or balls in empty rooms, only to return minutes later to find them in a completely different spot. It is as if unseen hands are testing the living, gauging their reactions. One of the most enduring and chilling apparitions, said to haunt Ashmore Estates, is that of a little girl dressed entirely in white. She is most often seen on the second floor, her pale figure gliding silently along the hallway before vanishing into a room. Witnesses describe her as having long, dark hair and a face that seems both innocent and impossibly sad. Some believe she was a child who lived at the poor farm, orphaned and left to the care of strangers until her untimely death. Others think she may be a residual echo of a patient's daughter who once visited and never left, though those who have seen her often report a wave of sorrow and an almost overwhelming sense of loss. The basement, however, carries a far more sinister reputation. Here, shadowy figures are said to lurk in the corners, their shapes shifting and darting out of sight. Unlike the little girl in white, these entities exude a feeling of hostility. Visitors have described the basement as suffocating, the air thick and difficult to breathe. Some have felt an oppressive pressure on their chests, as though the darkness itself is pushing them away. A few have even reported being touched cold, invisible hands brushing against their arms or gripping their shoulders with sudden force. Paranormal investigators who have spent the night in Ashmore Estates often leave with more questions than answers. Audio recordings have captured unexplained knocks, moans, and even full sentences spoken in empty rooms. Thermal cameras have picked up heat signatures where no living person stood. On one occasion, a team reported seeing a tall, shadow-like figure move across the basement in complete silence, only to disappear into the solid wall. Locals say that the land itself holds the memories of those who suffered there. It is not just the building that is haunted. They speak of strange lights that sometimes flicker in the windows at night, as if old lanterns are still being carried through the halls. Passersby have glanced toward the upper floors and seen faces staring back from the darkness, their features illuminated for just a second before fading away. Despite or perhaps because of its reputation, Ashmore Estates draws thrill-seekers, ghost hunters, and the curious from all over the country. Some come hoping to document evidence of the supernatural. Others simply wish to test their own courage. Many leave with chilling stories of their own, convinced that they had been watched, followed, or even spoken to by something unseen. The building stands today as both a historic landmark and a monument to the lives once lived on, lost within its walls. It is a place where history refuses to fade quietly, where the voices of the past still call out from the shadows, and where the line between the living and the dead feels perilously thin. Whether the spirits of Ashmore Estates are restless souls seeking closure, echoes of tragedy, or something far older and darker, one thing remains certain. Once you step inside, you are never truly alone. In San Jose, California, the Winchester Mystery House stands as one of the most unusual and unsettling mansions in America. It is a sprawling, labyrinthine estate that seems more like a puzzle than a home. Built by Sarah Winchester, the widowed heiress to the Winchester Repeating Arms fortune, the house was constructed continuously for decades, day and night, without a clear plan or end in sight. Legend has it that Sarah believed she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles, and that the only way to appease them was to keep building. Every nail, every hallway, every strange stairway was part of a desperate attempt to confuse and contain the restless dead. From the outside, the mansion's architecture appears whimsical, almost enchanting, but once inside, the design becomes unsettling. Staircases lead straight into ceilings. Doors open to solid walls or drop-offs to the outside 3 stories above the ground. Windows are placed in the middle of floors. Hallways twist unexpectedly, doubling back on themselves as if the house is trying to mislead anyone or anything that walks its corridors. The sense of direction is quickly lost here. Visitors often remark that the house seems to subtly shift, as if guiding them into places they didn't intend to go. Those who have walked the halls claim that the air is never still. There are cold spots that appear without warning, and sudden drafts that seem to carry faint whispers. It's not uncommon for guests to report hearing soft but deliberate footsteps pacing in rooms above them, rooms that, when checked, are found to be completely empty. The faint humming of a woman's voice drifts through the halls late in the evening, a sound that grows louder if you follow it, only to stop abruptly the moment you think you are close. The mansion's most infamous area is the 3rd floor, where Sarah Winchester's private room remains. This small, oddly shaped chamber has only one entrance, but 3 different exits, each leading to entirely different sections of the house. Some believe Sarah would enter this room at midnight to speak with the spirits, seeking instructions for the next day's construction. Many paranormal investigators have described an oppressive energy in this room, like being watched by dozens of unseen eyes. Some have even claimed to feel a sudden pressure on their chest, making it difficult to breathe, as if the spirits themselves are warning intruders to leave. In one of the upper hallways, there is a door known as the Door to Nowhere. When opened, it reveals only open air, leading straight to a sheer drop. Legend says that Sarah ordered it built to lure dangerous spirits into walking through and falling away from the house. Guests who stand near it sometimes report a sudden tug at their clothing or a light push on their back, as though something is urging them closer to the edge. The grand ballroom, despite its beauty, is a hotspot for activity. Its mirrored walls and polished floors seem to catch fleeting movements that disappear when you turn your head. Some visitors have described the sight of a man in old-fashioned work clothes, carrying carpentry tools, only for him to fade like smoke before reaching the far wall. Staff believe he is one of the many workers who toiled endlessly here, perhaps still building in the afterlife. Even the garden paths and balconies are said to be haunted. On misty mornings, some have seen a small, shadowy figure darting between the trees, vanishing before they can be approached. There are also accounts of hearing the sound of hammering and sawing in the dead of night, echoing faintly from the walls, though no construction has taken place here in decades. Some of the most chilling stories come from the rooms Sarah herself rarely entered. In one such room, a narrow chamber tucked into a corner of the second floor, guests have described the sound of a woman sobbing softly. No one can ever find the source, and recordings made in the room have picked up faint cries even when the space was empty. Paranormal experts suggest it could be one of the countless spirits trapped in the house. The mansion's endless expansion halted only with Sarah Winchester's death in 1922. By then, it had grown to over 160 rooms, with miles of twisting hallways and architectural oddities that defy reason. Some believe the moment her heart stopped, the spirits were free to roam unchecked, no longer bound by the constant hammering and sawing that had distracted them for years. Visitors today often describe the house as alive, its walls breathing with unseen presence, as though it remembers its purpose, even if the living have forgotten. To walk through the Winchester mystery house is to step into a realm where logic falters and the boundary between the living and the dead feels perilously thin. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the corner of your eye, every whisper in the air seems like a message from those who never left. And as you finally find your way back to the front doors, the thought lingers, was it you finding your way out, or the house deciding to let you go? In the barren heart of Nevada's high desert, the Goldfield Hotel stands like a ghost from another time, its crumbling grandeur hinting at the prosperity and scandal that once defined the town. When it first opened in 1908, the hotel was hailed as the most luxurious in the state and opulent refuge for miners, businessmen, and drifters chasing their fortunes in the booming goldfields, and the dining room served lavish meals to the elite. But as the veins of gold ran dry, so too did the town's lifeblood. By the 1940s, Goldfield was a shadow of its former self, leaving behind a silence that was anything but empty. That silence is where the stories of Elizabeth begin. Local legend tells of a young woman, pregnant and unmarried, who was brought to room 109, under the care or control of a man whose identity remains a matter of speculation. Some versions claim she was held there against her will, hidden away to avoid scandal. Others say she had checked in alone, seeking a safe place to await the birth of her child. No matter the version, all end with tragedy. Elizabeth is said to have died in that room, whether from childbirth complications, neglect, or something far more sinister. Her child vanished without a trace. Today, visitors say that room 109 is the most active part of the building. Some hear faint, heart-wrenching cries of a woman calling for help, as if trapped between this world and the next. Others claim to hear the plaintive wails of a newborn, their soft echoes carried down the dusty corridors before dissolving into silence. Even the most skeptical have reported flickering lights, cold spots that feel like an icy hand pressing against the skin, and the sensation of being watched from the shadows. Explorers who venture deeper into the hotel often describe the building itself as alive. The air carries a strange heaviness, as though time hangs suspended in each peeling wall and sagging ceiling. Doors creak open with no wind, and the smell of smoke drifts through the air, despite there being no fire. Cameras brought inside malfunction without warning, batteries drain in minutes, lenses blur, and strange streaks of light appear in photographs. Like spectral figures caught midst the lobby, once a dazzling display of wealth, now feels like a grand tomb. Shards of broken glass glint in the faint daylight that filters through cracked windows, and the once lively bar is choked with dust. Here, visitors sometimes spot shadowy silhouettes gliding along the walls or passing through the doorways. Footsteps echo from the upper floors even when no one is there, and the faint sound of a piano playing a mournful tune drifts from somewhere deep in the building, only to stop abruptly when anyone tries to follow the sound. Perhaps the most unnerving encounters happen at night, when the desert wind howls through the empty streets of Goldfield and the hotel looms in silhouette. Paranormal investigators who have braved overnight stays speak of restless shadows that move independently of any light source, darting just beyond the edge of vision. Others have felt sudden rushes of icy air sweep through the hallways, accompanied by the distinct sensation of someone walking right beside them. One investigator reported hearing the rustle of skirts and soft humming, followed by the unmistakable pressure of a hand resting on his shoulder, only to turn and find the hallway completely empty. Room 109 remains the focal point for the building's strange activity. Visitors often find the door locked, even when it was previously open, or hear scratching sounds from inside when no one is there. Objects left on the bed or dresser are moved or vanish entirely, only to reappear in another part of the hotel. Those who stay long enough sometimes report a far more chilling phenomenon: whispers, not the vague murmurs of the wind, but clear, urgent voices speaking directly into the ear, though the words are often indistinct. Some believe Elizabeth's spirit lingers not out of malice, but out of sorrow, searching endlessly for the child she lost. Others think she is a warning, a restless presence trying to keep people away from whatever dark secret lies buried in the hotel's history. Whatever the truth, her story has become inseparable from the Goldfield Hotel's identity, drawing ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and historians alike. Yet Elizabeth is not the only spirit said to haunt the place. Former staff and guests are rumored to wander the halls, reenacting moments from a time when the hotel was alive with music, laughter, and deals struck over whiskey. These echoes of the past seem unaware of the present, as though the walls of the Goldfield have trapped entire fragments of history within them. Even as the building decays, its legends grow stronger. Locals warn that the hotel has a way of marking those who disrespect it. Some who have taken small artifacts or entered without permission report streaks of bad luck, accident, sudden illness, even fires that persist until the items are returned. Much like the town around it, the Goldfield Hotel seems caught between two worlds, unwilling to let go of its golden age, yet unable to escape the darkness that settled within its walls. In the heart of the Nevada desert, where the wind carries whispers through empty streets, the Goldfield Hotel stands as both a relic and a warning. It is a place where the line between history and haunting is blurred, where sorrow seeps into the very foundation, and where Elizabeth's cries still echo in the dead of night, reminding all who enter that some stories refuse to fade. Long since abandoned, the mine sits silent under layers of moss-covered rock and tangled underbrush, its rusted entrance gate half buried in the earth. Yet locals insist that the mine is anything but quiet. They tell stories of strange lights flickering in the darkness, of voices calling from deep within the tunnels, and of an unnatural cold that seeps into the bones of anyone who dares to step inside. The Crescent Mine began its life in the late 1800s. During a feverish rush for gold and silver, prospectors carved their way into the mountain, enduring long, dangerous hours in poorly lit shafts, the air thick with dust and the metallic temps of ore. In its prime, the mine produced a steady flow of precious metals, drawing workers and fortune seekers from across the Pacific Northwest. But beneath the surface, tragedy brewed. Accidents where frequent timbers gave way, carts overturned, and sudden cave-ins claimed the lives of miners without warning. The worst disaster came in the winter of 1897, when a section of the mine collapsed without warning, trapping a crew of men hundreds of feet below ground. Rescue attempts lasted for days, but the deeper the workers dug, the more unstable the tunnels became. Eventually, the search was abandoned. The bodies of the trapped miners were never recovered, sealed forever in the earth they had worked so desperately to carve open. Not long after, strange occurrences began to plague the remaining crew, even in the absence of wind. Workers heard faint, rhythmic tapping deep within the rock, as though someone far below was still trying to dig their way out. Others claimed to hear their own names whispered from the darkness. By the early 1900s, the Crescent Mine had closed for good, its entrances boarded up and the surrounding land left to the forest. Over the decades, explorers, hikers, and paranormal investigators have found their way to the site, drawn by its reputation. Many describe seeing dim, bluish lights drifting through the tunnel's lights that seem to move with purpose, yet vanish the moment they are approached. These are not the warm glows of lanterns, but cold, unearthly orbs that illuminate nothing around them. Though witnesses swear they were there, the voices are perhaps the most unnerving phenomenon. Some report hearing full conversations echoing from deeper within the mind, even when no one else is inside. Others hear faint cries for help or the soft, ragged breathing of someone unseen standing just behind them. There are tales of visitors hearing a single word, leave spoken clearly in the darkness, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching, though no one appears. The air inside the Crescent Mine is heavy and damp, but certain spots are said to be far colder than the rest, as if an unseen presence is passing through. Even in summer, these pockets of icy air chill to the core, accompanied by an oppressive pressure that makes it hard to breathe. Each breath a little harder to draw than the last, driving them back toward the light of the surface. One local legend tells of a man who entered the mine alone in the 1970s, determined to explore the deepest shafts. He carried a reliable lantern and a rope tied to the entrance for safety. Hours later, the rope was found cut clean through just a few yards inside the tunnel. The man never returned, and no trace of him was ever found. Whether he fell victim to a hidden drop, became lost in an uncharted passage, or met a stranger fate, no one knows. The mine's sinister reputation is so well known that some locals refuse to go near it at all, claiming that those who do risk more than just getting lost. They say the spirits trapped inside have grown restless and resentful, and that they sometimes follow visitors home. Reports of strange knocks on doors in the middle of the night, the sound of boots pacing in empty hallways, and whispers in bedrooms have been linked to trips into the Crescent Mine. A few people have even returned to the site just to beg for the disturbances to stop. Today, the Crescent Mine remains abandoned, its rusting support beams groaning with the weight of decades. The forest creeps ever closer, but the stories ensure it is never completely forgotten. On certain nights, when the fog rolls down from the mountain and the wind carries faint echoes through the trees, those who live nearby swear they can still hear the metallic ring of pickaxes striking stone and the muffled cries of men who will never see daylight again. It is a place where time has stopped, where the air still carries the weight of tragedy, and where the darkness feels alive. Those who enter, expecting an ordinary ruin, soon discover something else, a presence that watches, waits, and perhaps still dreams of escape. The Crescent Mine is more than abandoned earth and stone. It is a tomb, a warning, and a reminder that some places never truly let go of the souls they've claimed. Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia, was once a sprawling monument to a different era, a mental health care era marked by overcrowding, questionable treatments, and countless untold stories. Founded in the 1840s, it grew into the largest mental institution in the world, housing tens of thousands of patients at its peak. Today, much of the campus lies abandoned, the once bustling corridors now consumed by creeping vines and silence, with only fragments of its grim past lingering in the heavy Georgia air. The hospital grounds stretch across hundreds of acres, dotted with decaying brick buildings whose windows stare blankly into the present. Paint peels in curling strips from the walls, exposing layers of faded color from decades past. Broken gurneys and rusted bed frames littered the interiors, and the scent of mildew mixes with an underlying metallic temps, as if the very walls have absorbed the sorrows of the people who once lived there. Walking through the grounds, visitors speak of an unsettling sensation that settles over them almost immediately, a prickle on the back of the neck, a tightening in the chest. The abandoned wards seem to watch you. The silence is so complete that the slightest noise, a drip of water, the scuttle of a rat, feels deafening. And then there are the sounds that can't be explained. The faint squeak of gurney wheels rolling across tile, the echo of hurried footsteps moving down empty corridors, and the hushed murmur of voices just beyond hearing. One of the most common sightings at Central State Hospital is of shadow figures. They are described as tall, human-shaped forms that flit across doorways or stand at the end of hallways, vanishing when approached. Some witnesses say these shadows have a weight to them, as though they're not just absences of light, but actual presences, things aware of being seen. One former urban explorer swore that while photographing the second floor of the Powell building, he saw a black silhouette lean slowly out from behind a doorway, its head cocked, as though curious. When he moved toward it, the hallway plunged into an unnatural cold, and the shadow melted into the wall. The hospital's grim history is tied to more than just neglected. It's also a place of countless unmarked graves. An estimated 25,000 people were buried on the grounds during its operation, many in fields without headstones, their identities lost to time. On foggy mornings, visitors claim to see pale lights drifting through the overgrown cemetery areas, swaying like lanterns in the mist. Some believe these are the souls of the forgotten, still wandering in search of recognition. Others have felt a more direct encounter, a sudden, icy grip on the hand or arm, as though someone unseen is pleading for attention. Inside the abandoned treatment wings, the atmosphere becomes even more oppressive. Long, narrow hallways stretch on like optical illusions, lined with doors to patient rooms. Many of these rooms are still littered with the remnants of lives abruptly halted, scattered papers, shoes tucked neatly under beds, faded photographs left behind. Paranormal investigators often report capturing EVP's electronic voice phenomena here, with recordings that reveal faint, desperate whispers. The voices sometimes say names, sometimes fragments of sentences. Don't leave. It hurts. Or simply, home. One of the most unsettling aspects of Central State Hospital's lore is the belief that spirits from the grounds sometimes follow visitors home. Several people have reported strange activity after leaving the site, objects moving on their own, the sound of footsteps in their houses at night, or waking to find a shadowy figure standing silently in the corner of their bedroom. A paranormal researcher once described how, after spending an evening in the hospital's basement, he returned home to find deep scratches on his wooden floor, scratches that hadn't been there before. He lived alone. The basement areas are particularly feared. Once used for storage and maintenance, they are a maze of narrow passageways, rusted pipes, and pitch-black corners. Here, the air feels thicker, almost suffocating, and temperatures can drop drastically within seconds. Those who venture below ground often describe an overwhelming feeling of being watched, accompanied by a subtle, rhythmic tapping that seems to come from all directions. Some have fled in panic after hearing the unmistakable sound of something breathing heavily in the darkness, its pace matching their own. Nature has reclaimed much of the hospital's exterior, vines crawling up crumbling brick and trees sprouting where floors have collapsed. Yet even in daylight, there is a stillness that doesn't feel natural. Birds rarely sing here. The breeze seems to avoid the buildings, leaving the air stale and unmoving. At sunset, shadows grow long, stretching across the open lawns toward the decaying structures like fingers reaching to pull them back into the dark. Central State Hospital is more than an abandoned relic, as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels dangerously thin. Its history is one of suffering and neglect, and that energy seems to have settled deep into the ground. Visitors may come seeking a thrill, but they leave with the heavy knowledge that some places do not forget their past, and some pasts refuse to rest. Perched high on a hill overlooking the Victorian town of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the Crescent Hotel has long been admired for its grand architecture, sweeping views, and a history steeped in both luxury and infamy. Built in 1886 as a lavish resort, it became known as the Grand Old Lady of the Ozarks, drawing wealthy visitors seeking the region's healing springs. But beneath the elegant facade lies a past shadowed by deception, illness, and death, memories that seem unwilling to fade, no matter how many decades have passed. In the late 1930s, the hotel fell into the hands of Norman Baker, a charismatic but dangerous charlatan who posed as a doctor. Baker transformed the Crescent into a so-called cancer hospital, promising miracle cures without the need for surgery or conventional medicine. Patients came from across the country, desperate for hope. Baker's treatments consisted of injections, strange concoctions, and sheer falsehoods. While real medical care was absent, many suffered greatly in the sealed basement wings, which doubled as patient wards and morgues. The sick were kept away from prying eyes, their cries and moans muffled by the thick stone walls. It's said that dozens, perhaps hundreds, never left the building alive. Today, parts of the Crescent operate as a functioning hotel, welcoming guests to its beautifully restored upper floors. But the lower levels, especially the basement wings, remain sealed off cold, dark spaces where time feels frozen. Even with locked doors and boarded hallways, the energy of those grim days lingers. Visitors and staff alike have reported an unmistakable smell of antiseptic drifting from behind the sealed entryways, as though the rooms are still being scrubbed for patients who will never come. One of the most chilling reports involves faint moans and cries echoing from the basement when no one is there. Maintenance workers have claimed to hear gurney wheels squeaking along unseen corridors, the sound fading into the distance. On some nights, lights flicker in rooms that have no electricity. In the hotel's photographs and security footage, shadowy figures have appeared, pale, gaunt shapes in hospital gowns, moving slowly as if still searching for a cure that never arrived. Perhaps the most infamous apparition is that of a man believed to be Norman Baker himself, described as wearing a lavender suit, the same flamboyant attire he favored in life. His figure has been seen standing in the lobby or lingering near the basement entrance, watching silently. Some guests have felt an oppressive, almost smug presence in these areas, as if the spirit takes satisfaction in being remembered. Then there are the ghostly patients. Several guests staying on the floors above the sealed wings have woken to find thin, pale strangers in their rooms. These visitors don't speak. They simply stand by the bed, their hollow eyes fixed on the living. Within seconds, they vanish. Who was tasked with delivering fresh linens to a storage room near the basement stairs. She reported hearing a woman softly calling her name from the darkness below. When she turned to look, a faint figure in a hospital gown stood halfway up the staircase. The woman's face was expressionless, but her arm lifted slowly, pointing toward the sealed hospital wing. The employee dropped the linens and fled, refusing to ever go near that part of the building again. Even in the sunlit parts of the Crescent, guests often feel sudden cold spots, the air dropping in temperature as if someone unseen has brushed past. In the spa area built over what was once part of the hospital treatment rooms, patrons sometimes smell an overpowering odor of chemicals and alcohol. Others have claimed to hear the soft clink of glass vials, drawers opening and closing by themselves, and the faint murmur of voices discussing medical procedures. While skeptics chalk these occurrences up to drafts, old pipes, and overactive imaginations, those who have experienced them firsthand often leave the Crescent with a lingering unease. Many say the place feels alive, aware of every step you take within its walls. For those who know its history, the sealed basement is more than an architectural feature, a mausoleum of broken promises, where the suffering of the past bleeds into the present. Over the years, paranormal investigators have been drawn to the hotel in hopes of capturing proof of its hauntings. Thermal cameras have picked up unexplained cold spots shaped like human figures. Audio recordings have caught faint, pleading voices, some calling out names, others whispering unintelligible phrases. One team reported that their equipment batteries drained instantly upon entering the basement hallway, only to work perfectly again once they left the area. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the Crescent Hotel's atmosphere is undeniable. It's a place where luxury and tragedy are woven together, where elegant parlors stand above corridors of sorrow. Guests may come for the charm of the Ozarks and the beauty of Victorian architecture, but many leave with stories they can't explain, stories of antiseptic smells drifting through locked doors, of shadowy patients wandering hallways that no longer exist, and of a hotel whose history refuses to rest. In the stillness of night, when the wind whistles through the mountains and the lights flicker in the long, silent corridors, the Crescent seems to remember every soul who entered its doors. And for some of them, it appears, leaving was never an option. The Mississippi House ruins in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stand as a haunting reminder of a turbulent past. What remains is not a home in the traditional sense, but fragments of stone, weathered brick, and scattered foundations, silent witnesses to over a century and a half of change. The air here feels heavy, thick with the weight of memory, as though the land itself refuses to forget the tragedies it has seen. Built in the early 1800s, the mansion once stood as a proud example of Southern architecture. It was the home of a wealthy planter family, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the Mississippi River and the prosperity of the cotton trade. Guests arrived in horse-drawn carriages, laughter carried across the verandas during summer evenings, and the glow of candlelight spilled from tall windows on festive nights. But the grandeur would not last. The Civil War brought chaos to Vicksburg, turning the city into a fortress under siege. The once elegant home became a strategic target, and its location placed it directly in the path of violence. When Union artillery pounded the area, the Mississippi House was struck multiple times. Fire consumed much of the structure, and what wasn't reduced to ash fell to ruin in the years that followed. The family fled, never to return. As the decades passed, nature began reclaiming the site. Ivy and moss crept over the bricks, and weeds sprouted between cracked stones. Today, only remnants of the walls remain, their jagged edges silhouetted against the sky. But while the mansion itself is gone, those who visit claim something of its former occupants, and its wartime visitors still lingers. As the sun dips below the horizon, the ruins take on an otherworldly atmosphere. Locals speak of phantom soldiers appearing among the shadows, their blue and gray uniforms faded yet distinct. They march silently through the overgrown grounds, their faces pale, their expressions solemn. Some have been seen carrying rifles. Others simply wander, as if searching for orders that never came. Witnesses often describe a chill settling over them in the soldiers' presence, even on sweltering summer nights. The most famous ghost tied to the Mississippi House is that of the weeping woman in black. She appears most often in the fading light of dusk, standing near what was once the grand front entrance, dressed in a morning gown of the mid-19th century. Her face is hidden beneath a veil, but her posture speaks of unbearable grief. Visitors claim to hear soft sobs drifting through the evening air, so faint they could almost be mistaken for the wind. She is thought to be the widow of a Confederate officer who died during the siege of Vicksburg. Perhaps on the very grounds of the mansion, some believe she returned here in spirit to search for him, forever bound to the place where her life shattered. Other strange occurrences have been reported. On certain nights, a faint glow has been spotted in the ruins, as if lanterns still hang from the long-gone porch. The scent of gunpowder sometimes lingers in the air, with no modern source to explain it. Photographers attempting to capture images of the site often find odd distortions in their pictures, blurs, shaped like human figures, or sudden streaks of light that appear in frames when nothing visible was present. Some visitors have even reported hearing the faint echo of drums and bugle calls, as though a ghostly regiment is still preparing for battle. The land itself seems to react to intruders. People walking among the ruins describe a sense of being watched, an uneasy awareness that eyes are upon them from the darkness between the trees. At times, footsteps crunch in the grass nearby, yet no one is there. More unsettling still are the sudden bursts of silence, moments when the usual chirp of crickets and rustle of leaves stop entirely, leaving only the stillness and the sound of one's own breathing. Local historians say that more than just the mansion's history contributes to the hauntings. The siege of Vicksburg was one of the most brutal campaigns of the Civil War. With both soldiers and civilians enduring unimaginable suffering, the Mississippi House sat within reach of artillery fire and likely became a makeshift refuge or command post during the conflict. Its destruction, combined with the trauma of the siege, left an indelible mark. For some, these grounds are not just a relic of the past, they are a battlefield still echoing with the energy of loss. Over the years, ghost hunters and curious travelers have made pilgrimages to the site. Some bring recording equipment in hopes of capturing disembodied voices. Indeed, several electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings taken here, contain faint whispers indistinct but undeniably human in tone. One particularly chilling clip features a male voice saying, "Hold the line," while another seems to carry a quiet, pleading, "Help me." Skeptics might dismiss these as tricks of the environment, But those who stood among the ruins during a humid Mississippi evening know the sensation of history pressing close, demanding to be acknowledged. The Mississippi House ruins are not maintained as a tourist attraction. The site is unmarked, hidden from casual view, and left largely to the elements. It is this isolation, perhaps, that allows its stories to remain so potent. Here, there are no ropes or signs to distance you from the past, only the open air, the crumbling stones, and whatever unseen presence might still roam. For some, the ruins are a place of quiet reflection, a spot to connect with the past and honor those who lived and died here. For others, they are a chilling reminder that certain histories refuse to fade. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, standing on that uneven ground as the evening shadows lengthen is an experience not easily forgotten. The Mississippi House may have fallen long ago, but in its ruins, the whispers of war and mourning still drift. Ellis Island, located in New York Harbor, stands as a symbol of hope and new beginnings for millions of immigrants who passed through its gates between 1892 and 1954. For many, it was the gateway to America, a place where dreams took flight. Yet beneath this hopeful narrative lies a lesser-known and deeply haunting story, one told through the abandoned halls of the Ellis Island Hospital Complex. This sprawling facility once treated thousands of immigrants who arrived sick, injured, or deemed unfit to enter the country. Today, its empty corridors echo with chilling tales of ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and unsettling sensations that draw paranormal enthusiasts and curious visitors alike. The hospital was built to serve as a quarantine and treatment center, equipped to handle everything from contagious diseases to mental health crises. It featured infectious disease wards, surgical suites, psychiatric units, and morgues. Despite its purpose of healing, many who entered the hospital never left alive. Overcrowding, limited medical technology of the time, and the sheer volume of patients contributed to a high mortality rate. The emotional weight of suffering, death, and lost hope seems etched into the very walls of the complex. As you walk through the abandoned hospital today, the atmosphere is thick with a heavy silence that feels alive. The peeling paint, broken windows, and rusted medical equipment create an eerie backdrop for the paranormal activity reported here. Visitors often recount hearing phantom footsteps echoing down empty hallways, as if nurses and orderlies are still making their rounds. These footsteps sometimes grow louder and then fade, leaving an unsettling sense of presence. Ghostly nurses are among the most commonly reported apparitions. Clad in period uniforms, these figures have been spotted gliding through corridors or standing silently by doorways. Some witnesses say they've seen nurses tending to invisible patients or heard the faint rustle of their starched white skirts. The nurses' spirits seem to embody both the care and tragedy of the hospital, representing a dedication that endured even beyond death. The sounds of the hospital are equally unnerving. Visitors report hearing chilling cries and moans that rise and fall unpredictably, often in rooms long since emptied of life. Sometimes the cries sound like patients in pain or distress, while other times they are sorrowful wails that echo down the halls. These unexplained noises contribute to the hospital's reputation as one of the most haunted locations on Ellis Island. Many guests have also felt physical sensations that defy explanation. One of the most common experiences is the sudden, icy grip of an unseen hand on the arm, as if a spirit is trying to communicate or hold on to those who wander through the forsaken building. These touches are often fleeting but leave a lasting impression, a reminder that some presence still lingers here. Some visitors report the sensation of being pulled or guided through hallways by invisible forces, adding to the chilling atmosphere. Figures seen by visitors are often described as fleeting shadows or misty shapes that vanish when approached. Others have witnessed full-bodied apparitions, standing in rooms or peering from windows. These ghostly presences appear and disappear without warning, challenging anyone who tries to understand their origin. Some believe these figures are the souls of immigrants who never recovered or of staff members who dedicated their lives to care. The hospital's morgue and autopsy rooms are particularly unsettling. These areas, where many died and were prepared for burial or shipment back to their homelands, are said to carry the heaviest energy. Visitors to these spaces often feel an oppressive weight and report intense cold spots that chill to the bone. Some have heard muffled voices or the sound of metal instruments clinking, even though the rooms have been empty for decades. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Ellis Island Hospital, hoping to capture evidence of its haunting. Many have recorded electronic voice phenomena, whispers, calls, and sometimes outright pleas that cannot be explained by natural causes. Thermal imaging cameras have detected cold spots moving through hallways, and infrared photos sometimes reveal shadowy figures or orbs of light. While skeptics question these findings, the consistency of reports from different visitors over the years adds to the hospital's eerie mystique. The emotional stories tied to Ellis Island Hospital deepen its haunting reputation. Many immigrants who arrived sick or injured faced isolation and uncertainty, away from family and the promise of a new life. Some were quarantined for months, watching others come and go while trapped in the sterile environment. For those who passed away, the hospital was their final stop before being buried in unmarked graves on nearby islands or sent back to their countries of origin. The sorrow and desperation of these experiences seem to resonate through the decaying halls. Local guides often tell visitors that the hospital is not just haunted by random spirits, but by those caught in limbo, souls waiting for peace or release. Some say these spirits are trapped by unfinished business or the trauma of their final moments. Others believe the hospital itself is a beacon, drawing the residual energy of suffering and hope alike. Despite the darkness, Ellis Island Hospital holds an undeniable historical importance. It serves as a stark reminder of the struggles immigrants faced and the sacrifices made in pursuit of a better life. The haunting tales add another layer to the story, blending history with the supernatural in a way that captures the imagination and stirs the soul. Visitors who enter the hospital are often changed by the experience. The combination of history, tragedy, and the unexplained creates an atmosphere that is both sobering and thrilling. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the feelings of unease and mystery are difficult to ignore. Many leave with stories of unexplained phenomena and a newfound respect for the lives intertwined with the hospital's past. Ellis Island Hospital remains abandoned today, slowly succumbing to the elements, but never fully forgotten. Its empty halls continue to whisper secrets of the millions who pass through its doors, stories of hope, suffering, and the unknown. For those who dare to explore its shadows, the hospital offers a haunting glimpse into a world where history and spirits converge, reminding us that some places carry the past with them, long after the living have gone. The Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana is often called one of America's most haunted homes. Steeped in dark history and chilling tales that have been passed down through generations. Nestled along the banks of the Mississippi River near St. Francisville, this antebellum mansion stands as a testament to both Southern elegance and supernatural lore. Built around 1796, the plantation's story weaves together tragedy, mystery, and restless spirits, many of whom are said to have never left. One of the most enduring legends is that the plantation was built atop an ancient Native American burial ground, a factor often cited to explain the unexplainable phenomena reported there. Whether or not this is true, visitors and residents alike have experienced a range of ghostly encounters that defy reason. The very walls of the Myrtles seem to hold memories, some of love, others of sorrow, and many steeped in pain. The plantation's most infamous spirit is Chloe, a former slave, whose story has become central to the haunted narrative of the home. According to legend, Chloe was a house slave who fell out of favor after being caught eavesdropping on her owner's secrets in an act of vengeance or desperation. Stories say she poisoned the family by baking a cake laced with oleander leaves, a toxic plant also found growing on the grounds. The poison claimed the lives of several family members, including 2 young children. Chloe's ghost is said to be seen throughout the plantation, most famously in a photograph taken in the 1990s. That shows a figure with glowing eyes peering from a doorway, believed by many to be Chloe herself. Visitors have also reported feeling a sudden chill or seeing a woman in a green turban roaming the halls. Many claim that Chloe is not malevolent, but rather a tragic figure, bound to the plantation by her untimely death and lingering guilt. Children's laughter is another common phenomenon at the Myrtles. Despite the plantation's often somber history, the sound of joyful, echoing giggles can be heard in various rooms, especially near the nursery and the old servant quarters. Some guests have even reported seeing fleeting glimpses of small figures darting between rooms or playing on the front lawn, only to vanish when approached. These playful spirits seem to offer a brief contrast to the otherwise heavy atmosphere, yet their presence remains mysterious. Are they the souls of the poisoned children, or other long-departed youngsters tied to the land? Shadowy figures are also frequently spotted in the plantation's many windows. These silhouettes sometimes move slowly across the glass panes or disappear suddenly, leaving witnesses questioning what they've just seen. One of the more unsettling tales involves a figure believed to be the original owner. Some say his spirit guards the estate, appearing when danger or disrespect threatens the grounds. Beyond individual spirits, the Myrtles plantation is said to be alive with a general sense of unease. Doors creak open and close by themselves. Lights flicker without explanation, and objects are found moved or missing, with some guests reporting seeing ghostly faces reflected where no one stands. The heavy, humid air often feels charged, and many visitors come away with an inexplicable feeling that they are being watched. In the plantation's lush gardens, which include towering oaks draped with Spanish moss, people have reported sudden temperature drops and eerie sensations, as if the land itself remembers past tragedies. The oleander plants that grow wild here are often associated with the poisonings and Chloe's story, adding a botanical link to the haunting. Even local wildlife seems to avoid certain areas, lending an unnatural stillness to parts of the property. Over the years, the Myrtles plantation has attracted paranormal investigators eager to capture evidence of its haunting. EVP's electronic voice phenomena have recorded whispers and faint voices in empty rooms. Infrared cameras have caught shadowy movements, and thermal imaging devices have detected unexplained cold spots. While skeptics suggest these occurrences can be explained by the age and natural creaks of the old house, many investigators insist that something supernatural is at play. The plantation's rich history also includes tales of tragedy unrelated to Chloe. Fires, sudden deaths, and heartbreak have all left their mark, adding layers to the stories that now swirl around the estate. Guests often find themselves drawn not only to the beauty and elegance of the Myrtles, but also to the palpable sense that the past is never truly gone here. Visitors report that the plantation seems to respond to their emotions. Some feel comforted, as if embraced by unseen guardians, while others experience fear or sadness, sensing the sorrow embedded in the old walls. Night tours are popular for those seeking a closer look at the paranormal. But even daytime visits can be charged with eerie moments: a cold breeze in a sealed room, a sudden shadow crossing a sunlit hallway. The Myrtles plantation stands as a complex monument to history, mystery, and the supernatural. Its blend of architectural beauty and chilling stories makes it a unique place where the living and the dead appear to coexist. Whether the spirits are real or the product of imagination fueled by the plantation's dark past, the experiences reported here continue to intrigue and unsettle all who walk its grounds. In the end, the Myrtles plantation is more than just a historic home. It is a place where stories of love, betrayal, and tragedy are etched into the very fabric of the land, where shadows linger long after the candles are extinguished, and where the past waits patiently to be remembered, or perhaps to be heard once more. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, is more than just a grand mountain retreat. It's a place where history and the supernatural intertwine in ways that have fascinated visitors for over a century. Built in 1909 by F.O. Stanley, the hotel was designed to be a luxurious getaway for wealthy guests seeking fresh mountain air and stunning views of the Rockies. But beneath its elegant facade lies a reputation for ghostly encounters and eerie happenings that have made it one of the most famous haunted hotels in America. The hotel's haunting legacy gained worldwide attention when Stephen King visited in 1974 and found inspiration for his novel, The Shining. King stayed in room 217, now famously known as the most haunted room in the hotel, and experienced unsettling events that fueled his imagination. Yet, even before King's visit, the Stanley had earned a reputation for paranormal activity among staff and guests alike. Visitors often report hearing the faint strains of piano music drifting through empty corridors and abandoned ballrooms. The hotel's grand piano, which stands in the lobby, sometimes plays by itself, filling the air with haunting melodies that seem to come from nowhere. Guests have described the music as both beautiful and chilling, setting the tone for the spectral activity that often follows. In addition to the music, many guests encounter ghostly figures roaming the halls. The most commonly seen apparition is that of F.O. Stanley himself. Witnesses describe a tall man in early 20th century attire, sometimes spotted near the main staircase or the lobby. Rather than frightening, his presence is often perceived as calm and dignified, a reminder of the man who dreamed up the hotel and saw it built from the ground up. Other spirits are less benign. However, some guests report sudden cold spots, unexplained noises, and flickering lights that seem to dance along the walls. In certain rooms, furniture shifts or doors open and close on their own. Housekeepers have reported objects moving inexplicably, and some say they've felt the touch of an unseen hand brushing past them while cleaning. Room 217 remains the focal point of many ghost stories. It is said to be the scene of various strange events, from lights turning on and off without explanation to guests waking up, feeling watched or touched by invisible entities. Some have reported seeing a woman's ghostly figure in the room, while others have heard whispers or footsteps echoing in the hallway outside. Despite, or perhaps because of its reputation, many visitors specifically request this room, hoping to experience a brush with the supernatural themselves. The hotel's ballroom, once a lively hub of music and dancing, is another hotspot for paranormal phenomena. During quiet moments, some claim to see flickering lights that resemble dancers moving to a ghostly waltz. The sounds of laughter and applause have been reported, even when the ballroom is empty. These manifestations seem to capture the joyful spirit of the hotel's past, frozen in time but still alive in some form. Beyond the music and apparitions, the Stanley Hotel's eerie atmosphere extends to its grand architecture and mountain setting. The long hallways, dimly lit at night, can create a feeling of isolation and suspense. Many guests say the building has a personality of its own, an energy that shifts with the seasons and the stories told by those who have walked its floors. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the Stanley, conducting numerous studies to capture evidence of its hauntings. Recordings of unexplained sounds, temperature fluctuations, and photographic anomalies have all contributed to the hotel's reputation as a paranormal hotspot. While skeptics attribute some experiences to the power of suggestion or the hotel's old age, the consistency of reports from guests and staff suggests something more. The hotel staff themselves are no strangers to the supernatural. Many longtime employees have shared stories of inexplicable events witnessed during their time working at the Stanley. From hearing voices when no one is around to seeing fleeting shadows in mirrors, their accounts lend credence to the tales that attract curious visitors from around the world. Despite its haunted history, the Stanley Hotel remains a beloved destination, combining old-world charm with modern comforts. Its status as a paranormal landmark has only enhanced its allure, drawing thrill-seekers and history enthusiasts alike. Special ghost tours and overnight stays are offered for those eager to explore the hotel's spectral side firsthand. In the end, the Stanley Hotel stands as a living monument to the mysteries that linger just beyond the veil of everyday life. It is a place where the past refuses to remain silent, where music plays from unseen hands, and where ghostly figures continue to roam the halls. Whether you come seeking luxury, history, or a glimpse into the supernatural, the Stanley offers an experience unlike any other, a story still unfolding in the shadows of the Colorado Rockies. These haunted places reveal the shadows beneath America's history, Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the stories remind us that every place holds echoes of the past, some waiting quietly, others demanding to be heard. Thank you for joining this journey into the eerie, the unexplained, and the unforgettable. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales from the dark corners of our world. Until next time, stay curious and beware what lurks in the shadows.